and the nation as a whole should pay a bigger share. So that's so about 130 million per percentage point. If you're looking at, 5 percentage points, you're looking at 5 times that. So it's not small change here. It's significant money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to break the bank.
Do you think that this is a permanent solution, a permanent?
I would see this as being a permanent thing, yes, as a permanent federal contribution to assisting post-secondary students to get an education for their benefit, but obviously for the benefit of the country as a whole. The quicker they're into the workforce, paying their taxes, they're also going to benefit the country as well.
When it comes to the fiscal situation of government right now on the federal level, do you think that this is something we would grasp at the states meeting, or are you hoping to see it map it out now?
Well, look, at the drop of a hat, more or less, the federal government has decided to put us into a $56 billion deficit situation, to stimulate the economy. We're anticipating that that's not going to last forever. But, it's a question of relative importance here. If you move and do these things when you feel you have to, well, I feel you have to do this. This is something that we have to do. There are benefits that go beyond the initial cost, and it's something that we see government moving in that direction. Obviously, I don't think there's sufficient support for this right now, so it's not going to happen today in any event. So we can't concern ourselves overly with the very fiscal situation, this particular moment. We have to build for this, build support for this, and hopefully put it in place as soon as we get that support.
Have you had an opportunity to talk to the other opposition parties, and are they?
Well, this is something that's basically a response to the step that was taken by the government of Newfoundland and Labrador. We've not been in session since this has happened. I would hope that the other parties would see this as an important thing to support, and I guess we'll find out as time goes on. But I intend to make it as a private member's motion and seek support for that in the ordinary course, and essentially try to have a national debate about this, just as we had in this province with the lobbying efforts of the Canadian Federation of Students.
Have you done any research on the economic impact that relieving interest in student loans could have on the overall country? For example, students having more expendable income, that sort of thing after they graduate?
Well, I don't think you need specific research to tell you that if students are paying, $2,000 or $3,000 a year in interest on a student loan that's going, back into the coffers, that's obviously not good for them. But by spending that in the economy is obviously good for the economy. So, I think it's a pretty well a given that this is going to be beneficial to the individual student, but also to the economy as well. But there is obviously a fiscal cost, as there is for any measure of this nature, and so there should be, because post-secondary education should and must be a greater national priority than it is. It can't be left to the provinces to be able to deal with as they might be able to. We're a bit lucky, I guess, in Newfoundland and Labrador. The fiscal situation of the provincial government has turned around in the last few years, so we're able to do that. Not all provinces are, and I think we've got to recognize that there is a national responsibility here. We see some other provinces with tuition rates that are. I think we're doing probably the best in the country here, with the exception of Quebec students going to a Quebec university. We're probably doing better in tuition rates. I think that's a very good policy, a very progressive policy, one that I personally support. I know students like it. In fact, for the first time in years, we see students from, well, maybe the first time ever, we see larger numbers of students coming from Nova Scotia, the Maritimes, Ontario. I think that's a good thing. We've been sending students to Nova Scotia and Ontario for decades and decades and decades. And it's great to have students come here. If they're coming there for that reason, that's good enough for me. It's good for them, it's good for us to have a good mix of students. And, we obviously welcome them here, but they're here for a reason, and maybe their provinces should take similar steps that have been taken in Newfoundland and Labrador. But in the meantime, and I'm speaking here as a federal representative, I want to see the federal government do more. This is one step that they can take, and one that you can focus on very easily. People can't say it can't be done, because it has been done. It's been done here in Newfoundland and Labrador if it can be done here in Newfoundland and Labrador, it can be done across the country. And I certainly want to I certainly commend the province for doing that, but also in doing so, make it clear that it was the efforts of the students themselves over many years in creating the atmosphere, pushing for public post-secondary education to be more accessible, and trying to really get over what happened in the 90s in this province and across the country. The cost of post-secondary education went through the roof for students, and they're still, the people who went through school in the 90s are still paying the price and bearing the burden of that. So if they can get some relief at this end of the road, then I'm all for it. And if students who are going in now or in school now can know that if they do have to borrow money, that is not going to be as burdensome as it would otherwise be, that's a very positive thing. And I don't want to be in a situation where people are giving up on post-secondary education options because of the cost. That would be a very bad thing. Anybody else? Okay, other than any other students, or you want to shine my shoes? You want to do it now, or we'll do it after? That was your question, was it? Do I want a shoe shine? Okay, happy to do that too. Any other comments? Anybody want to say anything? I know I see Keith Dunn here from CFS and others. So, are you in favor of this? Do you support this? Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got a mayoral candidate here. Do you support this?
Somebody's got to say something. That's pretty exciting news. Why would people? Are there not students here that would want this to happen? Are kind of like excited about this? Maybe. Anybody excited?
I am.
I'm excited too. That's awesome.
Great.
This is actually real things to think about, as opposed to paying off student loans and being stuck in the corner forever for years and years and years. What if people want to have a family? It's like it becomes really difficult if they're trying to pay off student loans for years and years, 10 years, often 15 years sometimes.
Yeah.
My house, it's just like a repetitive cycle.
Well, one of the things that I guess I can't say it surprised me, I guess because it's just reality, but to have it repeated publicly is worth saying. I mean, I'm an older guy and I got a young family, but I talk to lots of people who are in their 20s and early 30s, and when you talk to them about having kids or having a family, they say, oh, gee, I got to pay off my student loan first. Or you hear people say, and these are people with jobs, saying, gee, I'm not so sure we can afford to have a second kid or afford to have a third kid. Well, you know, that's amazing, but that people actually say that. And if you talk to your friends, your older friends, and you'll hear them say that. Yeah, I'd like to have kids, but you know, I'm not sure we can, until the student loan's paid off, I really don't feel I can buy a house or make the next step or do these things. So these are very real barriers to people setting themselves up in life and the kind of things that you think about when you're a young person or you have dreams for yourself, to make a family, to have a family, have a future. This is a very real barrier. It's a barrier to post-secondary education. We all know that, and some people don't make it into that door. The reality is it's a barrier after education too, and I think a lot of people, a lot of public policymakers don't really realize that. It really is worthy of looking into, because let me tell you, people are making decisions about whether to get married, about whether to buy a house, whether to have a family, whether to have a second child, whether to have a third child, because they don't think that they can afford it, because they've got debts and obligations that they carry with them because of the nature of the public policy we have in this country. So I think that should change. All right, thank you, folks. I gotta get my shoes shined now.